the next step in the process is I'm going to bring the jurors out. Once the jurors come out, we will confirm that they are who they say they are. I will then give them some instructions, and I'll also swear the jurors in as the official jurors on this case, at which point Mr. Shepard will have an opportunity to do opening statements, which he normally takes, and then you'll have an opportunity to give your opening statement. I'll remind you that nothing you say when you're acting in the role as attorney is evidence. The only evidence that you could present would be at the time that you yourself could present, would be if you chose to testify, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. At this point, the only testimony that will be given would be, or evidence would be given, would be from the state's witnesses that will testify, and any questions you ask them that bring out evidence. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Can I answer any questions for you before I bring the jury in?
Let's continue.
Okay. All right. So if you will just tell the jurors whenever they've all had a chance to step into the restroom and get their badges, grab their notepads and their pens, and if they need anything, let us know. And as soon as they're ready, just knock. If anybody needs to run to the restroom or anything, feel free to do that before we get started. Back to order. Again, the live stream is on. So what I'm going to do at this point is place you all under oath as our official trial jurors, so you may remain seated and raise your right hands. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will try the issue formed upon this accusation between the state of Georgia and the defendant, Keith Morgan, and give a true verdict according to the evidence? And if you will, say, I will.
I will.
All right, you all may take your hands down. You have officially been sworn as the jury to try this case, and as I told you, there are 3 questions from your perspective that are on the table, and each question is one of the charges that is before you here. And you will decide each question by either a not guilty or a guilty verdict as you so prefer. Now, so what are our jobs here? So my job is to, of course, run the courtroom and to decide what law applies to this case. Your job is you are the judges of the facts. And so you all will be deciding what the facts are, and only you will be deciding what the facts are in this case. You will take the facts as you've decided them. You will take the law that I give you and that you are bound by. You'll apply that law to the facts in making your decision. Now, how are you all going to determine your facts? Well, facts are evidence. And so what is evidence? Well, evidence is any testimony that you hear from any witness that sits in the seat here to my right and is placed under oath and gives testimony to you. Evidence is also any exhibits that are placed into the record during that testimony. So evidence is testimony and exhibits that are in the record that are for you to decide. Now, there is nothing that I say that is ever evidence. So nothing I say is evidence. Nothing Mr. Shepard, representing the state, says is evidence, and nothing Mr. Morgan says in acting in an attorney capacity says is evidence. So nothing when addressing you that the parties or their attorneys say is evidence. So opening statements are not evidence. Closing arguments are not evidence. Questions to witnesses are not evidence. So my goal in this case is for this case to be tried fairly and to be tried so that it is fair and even according to the constitutions of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Georgia. Now, as I said earlier, criminal cases in the Spalding County State Court come about when the Solicitor General's office files what are called accusations with the court, and I've already read you the accusation, but I'm required to read it one more time at this point to make certain that you all understand it. And again, when you are out making your deliberations, this document I'm reading will be in your hands. So just so you know. So the first question on the table is what's called failure to maintain lane. That is the name of the charge. And it reads, On behalf of the people of the state of Georgia, the undersigned as prosecuting attorney for the county and state aforesaid, does hereby charge and accuse Keith Morgan with the offense of failure to maintain lane, for that the said accused in the county and state aforesaid, on or about the 28th day of December 2023, did unlawfully, while operating a motor vehicle on a public roadway, fail to drive within a single lane and move from such lane without first ascertained that such movement could be made with safety. That is count one. And to that, you all will, the defendant has pleaded not guilty, and you all will find the defendant either not guilty or guilty as you see fit. Question number two, or count number two, reads that the undersigned as prosecuting attorney for the county and state aforesaid does further charge and accuse Keith Morgan with the offense of failure to change address on driver's license, and that the said accused on the county and state aforesaid on or about the 28th day of December 2023 did unlawfully fail to change his address on his driver's license within 60 days as required by law. To that charge, you will find the defendant either not guilty or guilty as you determine the evidence supports. Count three, the undersigned as prosecuting attorney for the county and state aforesaid does further charge and accuse Keith Morgan with the offense of violation of a seatbelt law, and that the accused in the county and state aforesaid on or about the 28th day of December 2023 did unlawfully fail to wear a safety belt in a passenger vehicle. And that's count three, and again, you all will decide whether he is not guilty or guilty of that charge as the evidence supports. All of these charges are contrary to the laws of the state, the good order, peace, and dignity thereof, signed Patrick M. Shepard. I will state again that me reading it is not evidence of anything other than that's how this case got to the court for you all to decide. There is no evidence whatsoever of guilt by simply the filing of this document or the reading by me to you on it. Now, as I said earlier, the defendant walks into this courtroom presumed to be innocent. And if I handed you this document, sent you out right now and said, go ahead and fill it out, you would be obligated by law to do 3 not guilty verdicts and bring it out and present it to me, because the defendant is presumed innocent unless and until the state proves that guilt to you beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's what's called the burden of proof. So the burden of proof rests on the state at all times. And it is required that the state prove all elements of all offense charged beyond a reasonable doubt. But the state is not required to prove the guilt of the defendant beyond all doubt, and is not required to prove guilt to a mathematical certainty. Reasonable doubt is that of a fair-minded, impartial juror honestly seeking the truth. It is not arbitrary or capricious. It is a doubt arising from the evidence or a lack of evidence or a conflict in the evidence, and is a reasonable doubt based upon a reason. After considering all the facts and circumstances of this case, if your minds are wavering or unsettled or unsatisfied, that is the doubt of the law, and you should acquit the defendant as to that. If the doubt does not exist in your mind, then that is, as to the guilt, then it would be your responsibility to convict the defendant. In our system, it is the duty and responsibility of the trial judge, again, to decide what law is applicable to this case, to instruct you on that law, and you are bound by that law. And you will apply that law to the facts and the evidence as you deem it in making your decision on this case. Now, you will decide the credibility of the witnesses. And how do you do that? Well, the way you decide the credibility, also known as the believability of the witnesses, is that you may consider all the facts and circumstances of the case, the witness's manner of testifying, their intelligence, their means and opportunity for knowing the facts about which they've testified, the probability or improbability of their testimony, their interest or lack of interest in the outcome of the case, and their personal credibility as you determine it to be. As to all the witnesses that may testify, you should apply the same standards, measures, and tests that you would deem appropriate in trying to decide the credibility. It is the foundation of the criminal justice system that everyone accused of a crime is entitled to a trial by jurors who are impartial between the state and the defense, and who enter upon this case without having previously formed or expressed any opinion as to the guilt or the innocence of the accused. Now, a couple more odds and ends before we get started. We're about to pivot over into opening statements. Again, that's where each side has an opportunity to give you a roadmap. It's a good faith statement of what they believe the facts will show. Nothing about opening statement is evidence. As I said earlier, the state will go first. I will remind you again that the defendant has zero obligations to testify, and the burden never shifts to the defendant to prove anything. The burden always remains with the state. Once the witnesses are finished and the case is closed, they will then return to you, in front of you, to give what's called a closing argument. That is also not evidence, and we'll cover that when we get a little closer to it. All right, a couple of just housekeeping notes. So all of you have your juror badges on. Please keep those on at all times. If we end up for some reason moving you outside, I want folks to easily identify you as state court jurors so that we know which way to move you. Additionally, I can see most of you brought your notepads out. Feel free to take as many notes as you want or no notes. It doesn't matter. It's what you think is appropriate for yourself to help you remember key items. But just two quick notes. Don't get so stuck in trying to write down everything that's said that you miss what's happening here at the trial. And also just remember that the notes, I'm required to remind you that your notes are not evidence. Evidence is what the witnesses testify to and the exhibits placed into the record and nothing else. So your notes are just to help you remember what you believe the evidence is. If you all, we're going to try to resolve this case today if possible. We're still on track to do that. We may run a hair late if that is okay. Does anybody have anywhere you need to be, like right after 5? Okay, so we're going to try to finish this trial today if we can. Please make sure that your cell phones are off. If they're in your pocket, if they're back there, that's fine. Do what?
I have a birthday dinner.
What time?
At 6.
I think we're going to be okay there. So, but that's exactly the information I was seeking. So, all right, thank you very much. Then with that said, anything else, Mr. Shepard?
No.
Anything else, Mr. Morgan?
No.
All right, Ms. Shepard, floor is yours.
All right, as y'all heard earlier, this is a traffic case. It's about not changing your address on the driver's license, not wearing a seatbelt, and not driving your car within a single lane of traffic. Everybody's entitled to a trial. Mr. Morgan's demanded a trial in this case, so here we are. It's not going to be long. It's not going to be complicated. It's not going to be like the CSI you just watch on television. It should be pretty cut and dry. So what happened is on December 28th of last year, about 8:45 p.m., now Corporal, he was Deputy Crumpler. He's with Forsyth County Police Department, Forsyth, Georgia Police Department now. He was with Spalding County Sheriff's Office. He moved down there earlier this year. He's on patrol, on traffic patrol here in Spalding County on 15th Street. 15th Street is over there by the old police department. I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with it. So when you're coming up 15th, you're heading north on 15th Street, the police department's on your right. You have to take a right onto Poplar and then a left back onto 15th Street. So as Mr. Morgan's making that first right turn, Deputy Crumpler sees him swing over way in the other lane of traffic, all the way across the center line. Now that's concerning driving, so with Deputy Crumpler, he's trained to look for that kind of stuff. So he sees that, so he initiates a traffic stop. When he pulls the car over, Mr. Morgan's driving the car. It's a 1997 Toyota 4Runner is what he was driving. Now, as Deputy Crumpler approaches the car, he sees that Mr. Morgan's not wearing a seatbelt. Then he asks Mr. Morgan if he can see his license. Routine, you always, I'm sure everybody here has been pulled over where they say license or registration. So one of the things after they do that, they ask you, is all the information on your license correct? Mr. Morgan said, no, it's not. His address on there wasn't correct. Deputy Crumpler asked him about it. Mr. Morgan admits he'd been living at that address for about over a year at the time, so it's probably a year and a half now. So for over a year at the time, he'd been living there, hadn't updated his address. The law says you got to do it within 60 days. So at the end of that encounter, Deputy Crumpler goes, issues 3 citations. The first one's for failure to maintain lane. You already heard the judge read them. The second one's for failing to change your address within 60 days. And the third one's for not wearing a seatbelt. Again, it's not going to be complicated. Mr. Morgan may raise some issues about why he believes this is, he's not obligated to follow some of these laws. If that comes up, that's not what this is about. This is about whether or not he maintained his lane, whether or not he updated his address, and whether or not he was wearing a seatbelt. Any other stuff that you hear is just a distraction. That's not what we're here about. We're just here about those 3 issues. Thank you.
All right, so Mr. Morgan, you may make an opening statement if you wish. As always, you may stay at the table or stand, use the lectern, however you prefer.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, flip the top on there. That little switch, just pull it towards you.
Hello? All right.
And you can
Okay.
move that lectern around if you'd like.
Okay. On that night, I was stopped for no reason. Okay, he said that he stopped me because I made a wide turn. And when we look at the video, I want you to listen to it. When we look at the video, the first question I asked him was, do you have that on video? Do you have that on record? And he said, yes, on the video. He said, yes, I got it on my dash cam. There is no dash cam evidence, and if there is, I never got it because I asked for discovery. I got one video, the video that he has right there. I never made the wide turn, which was the reason that he said for the stop. Now, when he stopped me, what I did was when I pulled over, I turned on the interior lights so that he could see me. I rolled down the windows because it was night and turned on the interior lights, took my seatbelt off, and put my hands where he could see them because I didn't know what was going on because I didn't do anything. Okay, so when he came up, that's the first question that's the first question he asked me, and I asked him if he has it on video. He said yes, it's on the thing. Okay, so after that, then he asked me about my driver's license. My driver's license was issued to me by the state of Georgia. I have a P.O. box on my driver's license. It's been on there for 25 years. It doesn't matter. This is my what is it? Okay, this is my pension check. This is my pension check stub. The first thing now, he knows better because the first question he asked me was, is that your current mailing address? Do you still use it? And I said, yes. And he knows that's all you need. But then he said, well, you still need to change it to a physical address, which you don't. Okay, so then after that, he went back to the truck. Let me back up for a second. When he stopped me, it was dark, lights on in the back. I couldn't see who it was. Well, I couldn't see the car because the lights were blinding. So since I couldn't see the car, then when he walked up to me, I didn't see a name tag. So there was no name tag. So I'm thinking that maybe this is one of those false stops because everything that I saw in the rear view, it could have been bought online. So I'm not really sure. And then after he said what he said, that he got me on film on the other side of the street, I was really scared because I said, this guy is probably an imposter. And that's why I asked him to give me a ticket so that I can get his information if, in fact, he was a real cop. Okay, and then at 2049 on the tape that you're going to watch, another cop pulled up from Griffin, Georgia. Now, I'm not even sure, he was Spalding County. He was a Spalding County, I was pulled over by Spalding County. Now he's something else. So obviously he's bouncing around. All right, and then when he came back to the car, I didn't want to argue. I said it's the least amount of words as possible for the simple reason I didn't want to help him escalate it. So when he came back, he gave me 3 tickets. So he added the seatbelt. He saw me take my seatbelt off, but he added that, but I didn't say anything. I just accepted all 3 tickets.
All right, thank you, Mr. Morgan. Members of the jury, I will remind you again that the evidence is not opened yet, and you will make your decision based upon evidence. That is simply opening statements, which is a good faith statement of what they believe the evidence will show. You and you alone will make that decision as to what the evidence is and is not. With that said, the state having the burden has the right to go first, and they may call witnesses to present evidence. Are you ready to call your first witness?
Yes, sir.
All right, the floor is yours.
All right, we'll call now Corporal Justin Crumpler. Will you raise your right hand, please? You swear the testimony you're about to give before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I swear.
All right, thank you. Have a seat. All right, can you state your name?
Joseph Crumpler.
And how are you employed?
I'm currently employed as a corporal with the City of Forsyth Police Department and a deputy sheriff with Bibb County Sheriff's Office.
Now, are you post-certified?
I am.
How long have you been a police officer?
I became post-certified for working the road in 2018, and prior to that, I was military police and a jailer.
Okay, so you've been working road for 6 years now?
Yes, sir.
Now, were you previously employed by the Spalding County Sheriff's Department?
Yes, sir.
All right, and were you employed by Spalding County on December 28th of 2023?
Yes, sir.
And were you on duty that day?
I was.
And when you're on duty, are you in a uniform with a badge?
Yes, sir.
And were you in a marked patrol vehicle?
I was.
All right, and does that clearly identify you as a law enforcement officer?
It does.
And is that patrol vehicle, does it include lights?
Yes, sir.
Can those be activated when you make a stop?
Yes, sir.
And what color are those lights?
The lights are blue and white.
Now, when you were with Spalding County, and I guess now at your current employer, your duties include law enforcement, traffic enforcement?
Yes, sir. That was my only job at Spalding County.
Okay. And is that in fact what you were doing on December 28th of 2023?
Yes, sir.
And did you make contact with Mr. Keith Morgan that day?
I did.
And is that Mr. Morgan that you interacted with that day here at City Defense Table?
Yes, sir.
Now, what first drew your attention to Mr. Morgan's vehicle?
I was traveling on 15th Street. I noticed a vehicle come to a stop at a stop sign. He made a right-hand turn, and he made a wide right-hand turn going into the other lane partially. Prior to getting back into his correct lane of travel, he made a left-hand turn back onto 15th Street because there's an L or a bend in the road. And that's when I activated my emergency equipment.
Okay. Now, when you said you saw him make a wide turn, it was just bump the center line, or was it significant?
No, sir. Close to at least half his vehicle was over the line.
And is that an offense that you would typically make a traffic stop for?
Yes, it's one of the indicators for DUI.
You recall what kind of vehicle he was driving?
Older model SUV.
And which roadway did you say that was?
It was initially on 15th Street, turned onto Poplar, and then back onto 15th Street.
So that portion of 15th and that portion of Poplar, is that a public roadway in Spalding County, Georgia?
Yes, sir.
And so you did initiate a traffic stop?
Yes, sir.
And did the vehicle pull over?
It did.
All right, did you approach the vehicle and identify yourself?
Yes, sir.
All right, and who was driving the vehicle?
Mr. Morgan.
And how did you identify yourself, or how do you typically identify yourself at a traffic stop?
I'm not sure exactly how I did it at that time, but normally I walk up to the vehicle. Hey, I'm Deputy or Officer Crumpler with the city of or county of wherever I'm working at. The reason I pulled you every day is this, and I get your driver's license.
Okay. Now, when you first approached the vehicle, did you observe whether or not Mr. Morgan was wearing a seatbelt?
I did not see one at the time.
Okay, so not wearing a seatbelt?
Correct.
All right, and did you explain to Mr. Morgan the reason that you pulled him over?
I explained to him the reason I pulled him over was for a wide right-hand turn and fell in the maintain lane.
Okay. Did you ask to see Mr. Morgan's driver's license?
Yes, sir.
And is that something that you typically would do at each stop?
Yes, sir.
Did Mr. Morgan provide you with a driver's license?
He did.
Did you attempt to confirm whether or not the address in that driver's license was correct?
Yes, sir.
Is that something that you typically do?
Yes, sir.
All right, and why would you do that?
One, if, for instance, with this case, with me being in training a couple months ago, we had to move the case forward. That way y'all can mail out the proper notices to the defendant or possible jury selection. The state law says it has to be updated, just paperwork side of it. Make sure everything's good for administrative rights or administrative purposes.
So what did you determine about the address that was on Mr. Morgan's driver's license that he provided you?
The address on the license did not match his current physical address
Okay. And how did you know what his current physical address was?
because I asked him
And you recall if he told you how long he had lived at that address?
about a year.
All right. Did you issue some traffic citations to Mr. Morgan?
I did.
For what offenses?
I issued him one for failure to maintain lane when he went into the other lane of travel. Issued him one for not having a seatbelt on when I approached the vehicle. And I also issued him one for not having his license updated within 60 days of moving.
Now, at the time of this stop, were you wearing a body cam?
Yes, sir.
All right. And does that body camera record audio and video?
Yes, sir.
All right. And to the best of your knowledge, was that body cam functioning properly that day?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you got a chance to review the audio and video that was marked as State's Exhibit 1?
Yes, sir.
And is that a true and accurate depiction of your interaction with Mr. Morgan that day?
It was.
All right. Judge, we'll tender that as State's Exhibit 1 at this time.
All right, any objection to the video being State's Exhibit 1 placed into the record? Any objection
To what?
to the video being used in making?
No, I want it.
That's fine, it's my job to ask you. So, all right, State's 1 is tendered and admitted without objection.
So, Corporal Crumpler, before we play it, let me ask you just a couple questions. Is your body cam record at all times?
No, so I have to physically turn it on.
Okay, and when do you typically turn the body cam on?
Anytime I exit my vehicle to make a traffic stop.
Okay, is that what you did in this circumstance?
Yes, sir.
So your body cam, is it recording while you're driving?
No, sir.
Okay.
Some of the cars are programmed to when you hit your blue lights, they'll automatically turn on. So partial video of the driving. Mine was not at the time.
So to your knowledge, is there an actual dash cam video?
There was a dash cam installed in my car at the time, and it did record. I'm not sure if
Is
the
that
video is
what-
available or not.
So the video that we have here, this is going to be just your personal interaction with Mr. Morgan.
Yes, sir.
Judge, I think I have it queued up.
It appears that, is it asleep or is it on?
My computer is awake.
Okay, will you unplug it and plug it back in?
Yes, sir.
I used to just be a judge, ladies and gentlemen. Now I'm a judge and a video producer and everything else. So if this doesn't work in about 5 seconds, I'm gonna just let y'all take a quick bathroom break first to reset it. Unfortunately, whatever's happening at this point is on me, not on them. It's my system.
Looks like we're plugged in good. We got 2 blue lights down here.
Okay, it's not coming up. Let's do this. Let's take a quick bathroom break. Y'all knock as soon as you're ready. I'm gonna reset this system. And I think I know what's wrong, but I have to get off the bench to fix it. Don't talk about the case or do any homework on it. Don't look anything up. Don't turn your phones on. Just wait for us to knock on the door as soon as you're ready. Usually chirps and says it's here. Are both of the lights blue on his box down there?
Yes, yes. 2 blue lights.
Okay, jury's out. We're in recess just as long as it takes me to figure out what I've done wrong with my system.